call the order of May 27th, Stokes County Commissioners meeting. Let's all stand for prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this county. We thank you for all the people who has died, men and women, so we have the freedom to meet here and have discussions. Watch over, guide us, keep us safe. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need approval of the agenda.
Making a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Before we go to public comments, Rick has hurt his back. He's at the doctor's right now, so he might come in drugged up or not might come in at all. That said, we'll go to public comments. You want to read the rules and regulation?
Each speaker should be allowed 4 minutes for public comments with the option to yield time to another speaker or add an optional minute depending on the number of speakers that have signed up while abiding by the 30-minute total time limit. All speakers shall maintain good decorum and show respect and good manners. Vulgar language, profanity, inappropriate gestures, insults, personal attacks, accusations, and inflammatory language is prohibited. The chairman of the board shall enforce these rules, and anyone not complying with these rules shall not be allowed to continue. At their discretion, members of the board may address items from public comments in the commissioner comment period. When I say your name, feel free to come up to the stand here, state your name, your address, and then you can begin. First up, we have Linda Hartgrove-Mabe.
Thank you, Commissioners, for listening to all these people that's here today. And I want to say my name is Linda Hartgrove-Mabe, 1454 Charlie Hartgrove Road, and I give my time to Calvin Covington with Farm Bureau.
Next up, I have Anthony Mabe.
Anthony Mabe, 1454 Charlie Hartgrove, Quaker Gap Community. And I'd like to relinquish my time to Ken Sevier.
Calvin Covington.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Calvin Covington. My farm is located just about 3 miles across the mountain, the way the crow flies, on 1413 Covington Road in the Capella community. My comments are presented on behalf of Stokes County Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau supports the proposed animal control and welfare ordinance presented by the county's animal control officer with 2 recommended additions. In Section 1, we ask that it be emphasized that North Carolina general statutes, which prohibit local government from adopting ordinances that regulate standards of care for farm animals, be included. And the reason for this is that each species of farm animal requires a different type of husbandry and standard of care. Within species, this varies based upon age, season, purpose, and location. It's virtually impossible and not practical for government to implement and enforce standards of care for all farm animals. Our second addition is in Section 2. We ask that a definition be added for farm animals. And the definition of farm animals state that farm animals are any of the following domesticated animals: cattle, oxen, bison, sheep, swine, goats, horses, ponies, mules, donkeys, hennies, llamas, alpacas, lagomors, retenties, and poultry. And that this definition also includes any dog that is used for the purpose of shepherding or herding cattle or livestock, or that is generally present on property that is used for agricultural activities. A major and growing challenge that animal agriculture faces in this county is predatory animals. Predatory animals attacking calves, sheep, and goats. If one wants to see animal abuse firsthand, let a roaming pack of dogs or a pack of wolves attack a calf or a flock of sheep. The results are horrendous. Protection for these food-producing animals is provided by donkeys and dogs bred and trained for shepherding. These trained animals play an important role in caring for food-producing animals. Farms with food-producing animals are important, growing, make a major economic contribution, and are a viable interest here in Stokes County. According to the latest agricultural census, 362 of Stokes County's 726 farms were home to food-producing animals. Since the decline of the tobacco industry, revenue from food-producing animals is the dominant source of farm revenue in Stokes County. In 2002, crop revenue, primarily tobacco, was 70% of total county farm revenue. Only 30% back then was generated by farm animals. Just 20 years later, in 2022, the most recent data available, food animals were responsible for 77% of total agricultural revenue in this county. Crop revenue had declined to 23%. In fact, from 2002 to 2022, food animal revenue in this county increased from $7 million to over $40 million. It's a big industry for this county. Thank goodness food animals stepped in and filled the void left by tobacco and helped keep agriculture viable in this county. The county should not adopt regulations which impair this important county industry. Stokes County's 362 farms with livestock and poultry deeply care about their farm animals and how they are cared for. It is their livelihood. When farm animals are your livelihood and the source of all or most of your income, you're going to do all you can to care for your animals, and you're going to do it the best you can because they're your livelihood. Animal husbandry people know high standards of animal care contribute to animals that produce higher quality products and result in a more efficient and profitable operation. Economics is a much more efficient and a much better incentive to encourage farmers to properly care for their farm animals than any government regulation. Nationally, the beef, dairy, swine, sheep, and poultry industries each have comprehensive programs for animal care. Most farmers follow these programs. If not, it's much more difficult for a farmer to market their product and market it at a profitable price. Granted, these animal care programs are not under government enforcement. Adherence is enforced by the buyers of the animal products, especially retail grocers. Based on practical experience, I can tell you firsthand, animal care requirements imposed by retail grocers are stronger, more comprehensive, and more adhered to by farmers than what local government can develop and enforce. In summary, Stokes County Farm Bureau supports the proposed Animal Control Officer's proposal with the two changes mentioned. We strongly encourage you, the county commissioners, not to implement regulations which hinder the food animal industry in this county. Any such hindrance directly impacts the livelihood of 362 farm families in this county. It will accelerate the decline of farms in this county, move more farmland into housing developments, and lessen the supply of wholesome, quality, nutritious, and nutrient-dense food for the people of this county, state, nation, and world. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Sylvia.
My name is David Sylvia, 4486 NC 268 Highway, Pilot Mountain, but it's on this side of the line. I'm speaking today to urge this body to decline the request for an ordinance change to the Animal Control Director that the Animal Control Director has proposed. I believe the current ordinance is a minimum standard of purpose, emphasized minimum. To enact an ordinance change that erodes minimum protection for the residents and animals of this county is not good governance. The second part of the ordinance, changing, reducing, or eliminating Animal Control Advisory Board, clouds the perception of a transparent government and government agency. As a citizen of this community, it is my responsibility to follow the applicable laws and ordinances. As a pet owner, it's my responsibility to provide living conditions for my animals to thrive, not survive, in minimal or less standards. We need to seek continuous improvement in our personal and professional arenas. This ordinance will not accomplish this. Thank you for your time today. I would like to yield the remaining time to Joanne Sylvia. Thank you.
Joanne Sylvia.
Good afternoon. I'm Joanne Sylvia, a resident of Stokes County. First and foremost, I ask that you please keep the current specifics in place to protect dogs regarding severe weather, age, enclosures, bedding, and picking up feces daily. Along with many other Stokes residents, I have already presented why these specific protections are needed for our county to move forward and not backward. I ask that the commissioners require resubmission of the proposed changes in a correct format using the current existing ordinance with the proposed exotic animal and dangerous dog additions as appropriate amendments. Any proposed changes under the animal welfare and anonymous reporting need to be clearly highlighted so that the commissioners and the public can easily compare the specifics of the current ordinance with the proposed changes. When asked repeatedly why he rewrote the entire ordinance and has proposed so many changes, Tommy Reeves has repeatedly said, "We can't go around to everyone's house in a tornado to tell people to put their animals up," or something to that effect. To be clear, the current ordinance does not require animal control officers to go around to everyone's house in severe weather. It's understood that that would not be reasonable, and that argument is not logical. We can't stop everyone's car to make sure everyone's wearing a seatbelt and that nobody's driving drunk. But we still have seatbelt laws and DWI laws in place to encourage people to do the right thing, reduce deaths and injuries. And we have public service announcements as reminders. We do not have enough child protective workers to go around to everyone's house to make sure that all children are safe from abuse and neglect. We depend on reports from public, teachers, law enforcement, and others, but we still have strict and specific laws in place to protect the vulnerable. When weather is so dry that we need to ban burning to keep people and property safe, we don't have enough people to go around to everyone's house to make sure no one is violating the ban. But when they know about the ban, most people will follow the rules and reports are investigated. Keeping the current specific guidelines in the ordinance, such as those to protect vulnerable animals from freezing, types of bedding, daily removal of feces, and tethering limits, makes the minimum standards clear. Most people, not everyone, but most people, are more likely to follow these rules if they know they are the law. Keeping the specifics in place can make enforcement easier because people don't have to guess. If we remove the argument that animal control officers can't go around to everyone's house because it's not logical and no one expects that, then I ask you to consider other reasons. Why would someone want to make laws protecting dogs more lenient? One possibility to consider is that there's more training needed in animal welfare and a better understanding of animal welfare. Of equal importance is the possibility of conflicts of interest. It would be in the best interest of our community for the commissioners to objectively explore possible biases that may be motivating these proposals. Anytime a person is in a position of public service, they need to look for these biases honestly and objectively, and sometimes we need help with that objectivity. That is where the Board of Commissioners comes in. At the last meeting, Mr. Reeves repeatedly said that no one has, that he's invited people to come and talk to him and no one's come to help at the shelter. And my heart kind of went out about that. And I just wanted to share a couple of things about that. There are many people who have spoken at this meeting on behalf of dogs that do volunteer in the community. I've recently become a volunteer with BOCC, and so I help animal control indirectly because those animals come from animal control shelter. After the December meeting, I sent an email to Mr. Reeves and did not get a response. And in that email, I said I would be happy to help with a one-page flyer that could be used as a mailing or handout. I could start with an old brochure. I commended him on the work that he's done. I said perhaps in the future that there will be something I can do to help. Please let me know if you would like to talk about any of these issues. And I guess one of the reasons I'm sharing that is that, there are people who can be willing to help in different ways, and that you're not alone with that. But first and foremost, going back to most importantly, we the people are asking that the specific protections in the current ordinance remain in place. Protecting dogs and cats includes the ability of people to make anonymous reports without fear of retaliation. And I just wanted to extend the email that I sent. Thank you very much for listening.
Kathleen Edwards.
Good afternoon. I live at 1726 Rogers Road, Mount Airy, North Carolina. That's in Stokes County. The citizens of this county who have presented to you the many reasons that Mr. Reeves' proposed ordinance should not be adopted are people who took the time to read our existing ordinance and compare it line by line to the document that he's proposing. Until today, not one single person has spoken out publicly in favor of what Reeves wants to do. You may have received some phone calls from people who didn't compare the two ordinances, but the people who took the time to review both documents are unanimously against the adoption of Reeves' proposal. We should not be considering an incomplete and insufficient document to replace the strong and specific language that we currently have. The piecemeal document that Mr. Reeves has proposed is cut and pasted directly from Surry County's ordinance and does not include Surry's tethering ban. Our ordinance has been steadily improved in Stokes County over a period of more than 50 years. Mr. Reeves' proposed document is not an amendment. His proposal eliminates our ordinance in its entirety, removing important protections for chained and penned dogs. We should not consider adopting from a neighboring county language that was drafted more than 10 years ago. We should be setting a higher standard for neighboring counties rather than following behind them. Our ordinance was last amended in 2021. 3 of you were on this board when it was voted in. The customary and accepted procedure for amending any ordinance involves highlighting proposed additions and redlining proposed deletions. This procedure allows the core document to evolve gradually over time according to the values of your constituency. To allow one person with clear biases to throw out our entire ordinance and propose the adoption of only convenient bits and pieces from another county's ordinance is outrageous. It is obvious who this serves. The proposed language does not protect chained dogs and does not serve your constituents. You represent us. It is your duty to do what is best for the majority of your constituents, not for yourselves or for your friends. The majority of your constituents clearly oppose Mr. Reeves' proposal. You were elected to do what is in the best interests of the citizens, not what's in your own self-interest. I'd like to see in each of you the moral courage to do what's best for the many continuously chained dogs in Stokes. They deserve strong legal protection from neglect and abuse. I urge you to vote against the adoption of the proposed language. Since you have not approved a tethering ban for our county, you should refuse to vote on this ordinance until the tethering section currently in force in our ordinance is included as written. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
I believe it's Iris Mudd.
Hello, I'm Iris Mudd, 1154 Greenfield Road, Walnut Cove, North Carolina, and I'm here to speak to just build on some of the things that have already been said regarding limitations or things to suggestions for deletions from the current ordinance. First of all, I'm going to say it is sad that an ordinance has to be passed to get people to do the right thing for animals. That's all. It's just sad. I'm getting on the soapbox. To start out with another thing, I'm going to build on what the lady just said. There should be no tethering at all. None. But where's Lindsay? Where's Lindsay? Get up here, Lindsay. I need your help. So I'm a retired teacher. I'm a visual learner. So Lindsay, take this. Okay. Y'all bear with me. I know I got 4 minutes. I'll talk fast. Okay, come on, Lindsay. We're going out here. We were at 10 feet. This is not compassion for animals. So what did we do? And I've looked at your ordinance you've got there. You got some good things. You guys have a heart. But what did we do? Should have taken, no, excuse me, tethering should be gone. So what did we do? Come on, Lindsay, come back. Suggestion to 7. Please, I'm begging you, no. So let's look at the life in that 7 feet. Back up a little bit, I'm keeping it. All right, a medium-sized dog typically poops 1 to 3 times a day. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates that a typical dog excretes 3/4 of a pound of waste a day. So within that 7 feet, we're talking a typical dog, is pooping in this short little distance here and in it all day. So that's my second concern. I'm begging you. Then let's go up here. The enclosure size. If we, well, no, I'm going to the cleanup part. Lord have mercy, please do not take that out. Because I agree with, I think you said it, somebody said it, that people are more likely to do things if you leave them here. They're more likely to. So if you take out that cleanup part of it, then that's like you all saying, it's not important. We know it's important. All right? So then if we look at this enclosure size, it is important. People are more likely to do it if you leave it in. But look at this. Dogs, animals that are in enclosures that are too small, and even what you've got here, I think it's too small. Dogs' behaviors, then small spaces, they engage in repetitive, abnormal behaviors like pacing, spinning, and self-mutilation. It happens. Aggressive barking, frustration, and stress can lead to aggression or excessive barking. I've been by places like that. Other behavioral issues or anxiety, depression, withdrawal, and they'll go over to a corner, and you go by these places and you see that dog just cowering over in the corner. But if you take it out, you take any one of these out, you're saying that's okay. And I don't believe it by the fact all this other that you put in here, it means you care. You take it out, you don't. That's just what I'm saying. And then I think you said, and I took it, I love that. We need to promote environments for our animals that allow them to thrive, not just survive. And I'm just going to, thank you, Lindsay. Good job. This is something to think about. I don't know what your faith is, but Proverbs 12:10 says, the righteous cares for the needs of his animals. It says it in the Bible. And one of these days, I'm going to start crying here. I care so much. One of these days, we all, you all, everybody back here, we're going to have to answer to how we treat what God created on this earth. And if you take this out, you don't care. How would we feel if those animals lived their lives on 7 feet? I'm just simply saying the tethering needs to be gone. If I cannot afford to allow my dog, my animal, to thrive, then I don't need to have it.
Thank you.
All right, there you go.
Kate Waterman.
Hello. My name's Kate Waterman, and I live on 4240 North Carolina Highway 89. Thank you for letting me speak today. I thought about some of the takeaways from the last meeting. We heard a lot of people speak, and we didn't get to really. It was nice to be able to, after the director spoke, I thought a lot about what he said, and some of the things that I'm going to speak on were already discussed with, I believe, Ms. Silva. But I think it's important to hear it just a little bit again. I won't go into, when I think about things, I want to take out people, as far as like, I'm not thinking about who they are. I'm thinking about what's best for our county, our animals, our well-being. I've been in this county 6 years, so there were a lot of people that spoke that said that they have been here for many years, and that gives them a unique perspective. But being here 6 years also gives me a unique perspective. I don't know anyone up here, but I do know things about living 58 years and what is the best thing for humans and for animals. So I just thought about what the director said, and he said that some people are going to treat animals the correct way no matter what. Absolutely. Those people, probably a lot of people that are standing before me, they're going to do what's right no matter what. You don't need a law for those people. You don't. Most of us up here, we're going to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. But that's not the reason why society has set laws and ordinances and rules and procedures. I'm a teacher of 36 years, and I've taught many grade levels, and I've seen a lot of horrible things that if we had the mindset to just give up because there are too many people that are just going to do it anyway. But what kind of teacher would I be? Would you want your child sitting in my classroom? Absolutely not. Law enforcement, the things that they see every day, that they have to police every day. Well, we don't have enough law enforcement for that, so let's change the laws. What kind of mindset is that? I implore that everyone here would think, you know what, that no one would take that mindset on. Physicians, any kind of medical professional, you would not say, I want to go to the gentleman or the woman that, you know what, you're not going to listen to me anyway, so why would I even have this practice? When I hear that mindset, the director said, I don't understand it. I really don't. Because it is very frustrating. I'm not saying your job is not frustrating. My job is frustrating. A lot of people, your job right now, frustrating as far as you know what's the right thing to do. And you keep fighting the good fight. You don't go backwards. What is the data? When the director spoke last time, I didn't hear any data to give you the reasons, hey, let's make things worse. Let's get rid of the things that safeguard animals. Where's the data that shows that? I mean, most people work on data. Hey, that makes sense. You told me that this, and this, that in these ordinances is better for an animal. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's the data. There's no data provided. We're just coming on what was spoken about. And what I heard that was spoken was, I don't have enough manpower. And the woman that spoke earlier specifically said that statement was false because you don't go out to all of those houses. So that was another. So my big thing is, do we want to be in a county that has the mindset that it's too much for us to handle, so we need to lower our standards? Just like they spoke earlier, and I believe Mr. Barney Castle, you spoke at the last meeting and said, we're not Surrey County. We don't aspire to be Surrey County. I moved to this county. I've lived in 2 other counties in my life, and I moved to this county because I saw what I thought was a better way of life. And so do we want to lower our standards? Because that's what it would be. There's no data that proves that this is a more beneficial for the animals. There's no data that supports that. Why would we do it? And just like you said, it looks like we're trying to be Surrey County-esque. Do we want to do that, or do we want to move ahead and do what Stokes County should be doing for everybody? Not just us, not for certain groups. And I can say that because, I am not, like I said, I am not someone who comes in, and I've lived here for years, and I know, I align myself with people who have that same mindset of, let's be positive, let's do the right thing for everyone. So I just don't think the argument that he has put in place as his reasoning for changing this, it doesn't justify changing it and creating this atmosphere for the animals, making it worse. It's not even a step back. It's I don't know how many steps you want to do. But thank you very much for listening, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Donna Lawrence.
My name is Donna Lawrence, and I am from Stokes County, but I live in High Point right now. But I grew up in this county since I was a little girl, and I'm just like the lady said back here. I'm very visual, so I have some visual props for you guys today. Robin's giving out. These are the stuffed animals, and I'm coming from the angle of abuse because that's where I've lived. And my dog Susie was beaten, set on fire, and tortured, chained to a tree, and left to die. She's not here now. I gave her a wonderful life of 13 years. She passed away 3 years ago, but she's here in spirit. And I come to speak on behalf of the torture that she went through and all other animals out there. If you see these scars on this animal right here, this is exactly what she went through. She was burned. 60% of her body, and all these people out here know that. And she was just basic. Oh, I have a picture. She was scalded. I didn't bring all the pictures because I don't want to gross people out. But there's a picture here of her burns as a puppy. Now we're talking about a 2-month-old puppy that was just a baby. She wasn't even vicious. She hadn't had time to be vicious. And she was abused like that because someone didn't give a crap about their animal. You know, they tied them up, they tied her up, they left her out, and all because she licked a baby in the face. And so we fought for Susie's Law. This is a copy of the bill. Governor Perdue signed it. Susie's paw prints on it. And that's why I'm here today. This is another prop. This is Governor Perdue. Governor Perdue cared enough about animals on a state level that she signed the bill along with Susie. She said, I want Susie's paw print on it. She signed that bill because she cared and loved animals. And so this epidemic is nationally of abuse and neglect. And we, as a human being, and people say that we care, need to stop this. You have the power in your hands to do something about it. You know, we did the movie, me and several others, Robin, Deborah, we raised $1.5 million to do a movie to go nationally to stop this epidemic of animal cruelty and neglect. And it takes little things, educational tools like this, to get things done to help. I have rescued animals for 16 years, and I have seen so much abuse. It is so sad. And I've seen them tied. I've even been attacked, like I told you last time, by a dog that was chained to a tree because it made it aggressive. I didn't blame the dog. I blamed the people. But I did something about it. I went over and got onto them about doing it, and I tried to help the dog. And I got attacked. But, like I said, I don't blame the dog, I blame the people. I wrote books about abuse. I took these books and I went into schools, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. For 16 years I have spoke against animal cruelty and neglect. I taught little kids how to be safe around animals. I took Susie. They loved her. She did tricks for them. We made a stand and taught children how to be safe around animals, how to protect your little pet that you have at home. Don't chain your little pet up. Love it. Give it love and attention as part of your family. You know, how to brush them, take care of them. And these kids listen. And then we're going to step back and go back, and the kids are going to think, well, Susie and Donna told me we shouldn't chain animals. You know, these kids listen. And that's how we learn and teach the next generation that we treat our animals with respect. And just like the lady quoted, Proverbs 12:10, a righteous man cares for the needs of his animal. And as a Christian, I have to agree with that, you know. And I'm not downplaying, I'm not saying anything against the director. I know it's a hard job. I wouldn't want to do it. But I'm just saying we have to work together as human beings to protect our animals. If he needs help, then somebody needs to give him some help. You know, whatever it takes. But we do have the manpower. There's money coming from somewhere. We have the manpower. I know we do. And we owe it to the citizens. We owe it to the animals. You know, to these people out here that work so hard to help animals and rescue. I know what it's like to have 20 dogs at your house. I have 12 dogs at my house right now, and I don't chain them to a tree. I don't neglect them. I don't not feed them. I give them a house in my house. They sleep with me. That's how much I love them and feel like they're part of the family. And I'm going to do everything I can to take care of my animals. And the people that don't need to be enforced to do so. They need to be enforced to take care of their animals. And I'm hearing rumors and things that's going on. It needs to be investigated. If there's abuse going on, I don't care who it is, it needs to be investigated. I'm not saying anything bad against anybody, but we need to investigate anything that's not right. Not for my sake or your sake, but for the animals' sake. Because we are their voice. Without us, they have no voice. And I've seen firsthand what abuse looked like. I had to look at my dog for 13 years, abused and tortured like she was. It was so sad, but I learned to look at her scars as a healing for her and me, as we can turn this bad thing into something good. We can not be a victim, but be victorious and turn it into something wonderful and special and educate the kids, teach them how to be safe, and do all of these things to help animals. That's why we did the movie, the books, and everything. And you may think, well, what's this abuse got to do with ordinances? It's got a lot to do with ordinances because it starts with the ordinances. If we don't have ordinances in place for each county, as my time's up, then we, it's just not good, and it ends up with abuse. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Robin Munder. Robin?
I'm Robin Munder. I live at 3636 Foxglove Drive in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I'm going to yield my time over to Megan Blake.
Megan Blake.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan Blake. I live at 2110 Wright Avenue, Greensboro, North Carolina. And first of all, thank you for letting all of us speak. I want to second every single thing everyone said, Donna Lawrence, Joanne Sylvia, and all the ladies and the gentlemen that spoke before me. I am a professional dog trainer and dog behaviorist. Now that may sound super fancy, but it's really not. How many people here have had a dog or known someone that had a dog or interacted with dogs? Every one of us has seen our dogs wiggle. They can be happy. Every one of us has heard dogs howl because they're lonely. Every one of us has seen a dog cower because they're afraid. As a behaviorist, the studies, and you all know this as well as I do, I don't have to say I'm anything special. We know that dogs feel emotion. They feel emotion just as deeply as we do. Their bodies react. Their tails get stiff if they're threatened. Now here's where the studies come in. Dogs are as smart as 2-year-old children. Some people say 3-year-olds, depending on if you got who's had a Jack Russell, an Australian cattle dog, a border collie. Those dogs are pretty smart, am I right? Okay. Some of those dogs have the intelligence of a 3-year-old child. Now, I'm not comparing children to dogs at all, so please, no one think I'm doing this. But can you imagine, just for a moment, what a 2 or 3-year-old child would feel like chained to a tree with their feces on the ground in a thunderstorm? Can you even put your brain there and imagine that? As Donna and everyone has said, this is cruelty. It just is. This is not my judgment. I'm not on a soapbox. I'm here as a scientist just saying, yeah, this is not okay. The lady who showed the 7-foot ruler from about here to here, you got a big dog. That's only twice their body length. Does anyone think that that's okay? Can anyone really say that that's okay? Maybe you support it or even wrote the ordinance, but it's not okay. Someone here said we need to have the moral courage. Thank you for saying that, whoever said that. That's what that is. So I'm here as a dog trainer and dog behaviorist to just appeal to you, to what we are doing. The tether laws need to be completely gone. Imagine what we're doing. Put yourself in the space of a human child. What would that feel like? Dogs. Oh, let me just go right to a really good way to explain this. This is a little poem, but it's not boring, don't worry. So listen to this, y'all. Man's best friend with us did grow, right? From the wild we once did know. We were pioneer days, way, way back when. Created to protect and serve, what did man do to deserve such loyal and unconditional love? As is delivered perfectly from above. They're perfect to fulfill our needs. They hunt, right? Anybody hunt with dogs? They protect. I mentioned the herding dogs. With many breeds, each specialized to fill a niche, but somewhere along the way, a hitch. And this is where we are right now. We're at the hitch. The wild dogs, coyotes, wolves, way back when, they bonded, helped us evolve. So now here is the mystery to solve. Without our help, we made them domestic. We did this. We did this. Without our help, they can't survive. They can't find food or even stay alive. So we have created man's best loyal friend. So what? Great responsibility comes with this end. They give us unconditional love. So what are we given? They give us unconditional love. And in turn, we are given dominion. We're given dominion. Now, what is, somebody quoted the Bible back there. What does dominion mean in the Bible? Doesn't mean domination. It means to take care of. They give us unconditional love. And we are given dominion, which means to take care of. We are here to steward animals on this planet. It is our moral courage, our moral obligation to steward these animals. That's my point. But I want to say one more thing about Donna and Susie. My dog's name was Super Smiley. I had him for 13 years, and Smiley and I traveled with Donna across the entire United States, speaking to thousands of kids how to safely approach dogs, how to share kindness. Nowadays, people are actually saying that compassion, kindness, and empathy are bad things. We said a prayer at the beginning. We are here to share kindness, compassion, and empathy. Not just with other humans, but with animals. Someone mentioned the farm animals. Yes, take care of everything the best that you can. That's why we are here. That's why we're able to stand and speak with such passion, because we stand in the right. Someone may disagree with us, but we know morally, ethically, biblically, we know we're in the right. Please, please, please listen to us. Please hear us. Oh, and one more thing. Muhammad Gandhi said, you can judge the development and evolution of a society by how it treats its animals. I'll leave you with that.
Deborah Hodges.
Hi, I'm Deborah Hodges. I live at 3696 Cotswold Avenue, Greensboro, and I'd like to give my time to Roy Lawrence, if I could. Thank you.
How we doing on time?
It's been 46 minutes.
How many you got left? Because we're over the 30-minute limit.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Are they all animal control or other topics?
All animal. Well, 2 of them didn't list, but all animal control.
What do y'all want to do?
Are there other topics? Or do you know? Can you ask? Can you find
There's
out?
2. I assume Ken, are you speaking on animal control as well?
Yes.
And then I think this might be Matt. I'm sure. Or Mark. Were you speaking on animal control as well? Oh. I mean, so I think they all were still animal control, so.
Okay. I would reduce the time to 2 minutes or
Yeah, we got another meeting at 5:30, so I'm gonna let y'all speak, but y'all need to put it in high gear.
something. You want to say 2 minutes?
Who's next?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Roy Lawrence, High Point, and I'm married, so I've learned how not to talk much. So this will be quick. I didn't have anything specific about any one thing on the board here. I just wanted to say, staying calm, not being accusatory or anything. There are some rumors or information out there, and I don't know what's true and what's not. But some of you in the room may know, and I'm just saying things that I've heard from some pretty reliable sources say that things need to change in Stokes County for the better of animals. And I just wanted to appeal to everybody's conscience. You know, we all have to lay down at night and go to sleep. Let's everybody just do the right thing. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mary Lynn Stone. Everyone, Mary Lynn Stone.
you, Mr. Reeves. Congratulations on the graduation of your oldest son. Had the good fortune of teaching both of his children at Mount Olive Elementary, and I'm another school teacher, and I thank you for your time, and I'll try to make it brief. Being the school teacher that I am, I do tell stories, and I am opposed to the regulations, the new ones that you're putting in place. And being a school teacher, I tell stories or I read books quite often. I will condense some of the stories that I had planned to tell in honor of your tight schedule that you have this afternoon. And also in honor of Memorial Day, and to try to change the tone of this afternoon, I'd like to share some stories about dogs, and maybe a takeaway for you to have a slight different memory of animals as you take these pieces of opinions under consideration. So there are several life-saving stories that I wanted to share with you. And in honor of Memorial Day this week, I'm just going to share a couple quick stories. Smokey, the World War II Yorkie. In 1944, an American soldier in the New Guinea jungle discovered a stray Yorkshire Terrier, Smokey, as she was named by a soldier, became the soldier's loyal partner and something of a World War II mascot. She spent 18 months in combat in New Guinea and the Philippines. She saved many lives by warning soldiers of incoming fire. She helped string communication wires between outposts and is considered one of the first therapy dogs. And as you're thinking of these stories, think of Proverbs 11:17. A man who is kind benefits himself, but a cruel man hurts himself. So another story. Nemo was a German shepherd born in 1962. And by the time he was 2, Nemo was a member of the United States Air Force. In 1966, he and his humans were transferred to serve in South Vietnam during the Vietnam War. One night, Nemo alerted his human to the presence of enemy soldiers nearby before being shot by fire. Through his lost eye, he survived and continued fighting, hurling his body at enemy soldiers and eventually crawling on top of his human to protect him from further harm. That's what our dogs do for us. When the planes hit during 9/11, Rosal, a Labrador Retriever, guided his blind owner through chaos. And together they managed to descend the Twin Towers 1,463 steps. The brave Labrador led her blind owner out of the tower just before it collapsed. From helping owners get out of burning buildings, alerting a lot of owners of impending seizures, motivating children to read, to recovering from various illnesses and dealing with disabilities, our furry friends deserve better. Amber? Do you mind? Very good. Doug 7 feet. That's what we're talking about, you guys. It's unfathomable that we're going to do this to our animals. As a teacher, again, I'm a concrete teacher. You know your sons were in my classroom. You moved your sons to Mount Olive Elementary because it was a better school than the Millennium from Surrey County. Why would we move these ordinances to be less than ideal for our animals? You guys, Robert H. Schuller once said, the truth of the matter is that you always know the right thing to do. The hard part is doing it. Thank you.
Ken?
My name is Joanne Sylvia. I live at 2693 Flat Shoals Road, Germantown, North Carolina. I don't have any papers, don't have any stories, anything to read. I just want to share some experiences that I've had through my life, which is about 72 years. Ever since I was born, I was born in a family that my dad had a dairy farm, and I was around cows, all kinds of different animals, donkeys, horses, all my life growing up. And my dad always said, if you're going to have an animal, you take care of it. You feed it, you protect it, and you enjoy it. And that's what my dad did. All my life, growing up, my dad had probably 6, 7 fox dogs. He fox hunted. He had 4 or 5 beagles. We rabbit hunted. He had a couple of bird dogs, pointers, setters, Brittany Spaniels. And we enjoyed those dogs. His fox dogs were usually tied out with a chain, and they were never abused. Their feces was cleaned up. Our beagles were in a lot about half the size of this room. Each one of them had their own little house. They were never abused. In the wintertime, it got cold. There was plenty of hay in those boxes. Those dogs survived. They were never abused. Same way with the bird dogs and the fox dogs. Now, moving on to what Mr. Cugington said about the animals, the cattle. We had cows. They were never abused. We had a barn they could go in. Sometimes they would, sometimes they wouldn't. But they were never abused. Then, when I moved to Stokes County in 1976, I drove into South Stokes, saw a man truck with a dog box on it. Said, "Oh boy, there's a hunter here." And I become to know Don Bowles, who had the truck. So we got talking, and I told him I had a coon dog, and so I lived on Piney Mountain Road. I had a dog box, and I tied him out. He was never abused. He was fed every day. He was cleaned up around him every day. So the point now, I have 11 dogs. 4 coon dogs, 5 beagles, 2 rat terriers, one with 4 legs, one with 3 legs. And the little 3-leg is the one I got out of a bad situation. So I don't abuse my dogs. I take care of my dogs better than some of the kids I had coming through school. When I had to take kids home or see where they lived, I thought, you know, my dogs are faring better than some of these kids. So my dog lots, some of them are 10 by 10, some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. And my dog houses are 55-gallon plastic barrels. Now people say, "Oh, that's bad, that's bad." Well, if they were metal barrels, my dad said, don't ever put a dog in a metal barrel. They will get cold. In the wintertime, I put plenty of straw in there. If they dig it out, I put it back. But they're never abused. I had 3 older dogs this year. I put heat lamps in their houses. Well, I ended up putting heat lamps in all their houses. My dogs wasn't abused. So what I'm trying to say is, all these people have talked before, I don't want to see any animal abused. But don't tell me how I should take care of my dog when I know from my life, my childhood all the way up to now, that I've never abused a dog. And it bothers me to see a horse out in a pasture with no cover. It bothers me to see other animals that are running around that's being abused. So let's have good common sense and follow what Mr. Reeves as projected. And if everybody would do what's right, then we wouldn't have a problem. So why penalize me for having to go back and get boxes and change everything out because somebody else abused their dogs? Yeah, I see the same advertisements on TV about abused dogs. It just hurts me.
Your time is up, sir.
So let me say one more thing, okay? If we all do what's right, with our guard dogs, we had sheep, we had Great Pyrenees, took care of them, and if we hadn't, then bear was getting in the pasture, coyotes, we wouldn't have had sheep. So there's a big need for all these protected animals. All right, thank you.
Mark?
By the way, Mary Ann is a good teacher. I hired her.
I'm Mark Pendleton from 2075 Moore Road in Lawsonville. I'm here to speak about the farm animals. I'm a cattle producer. I've been raising cattle for 60 years. And that's how I've made my livelihood. I bought a farm by raising cattle. College educated 2 children. And I have a lot of cattle now, and they're not all in North Carolina. But one thing about it, my cattle are fed all they want every day. Because a good friend of mine that we went to college together, went to Michigan State, got his PhD in animal nutrition, and came back to work at NC State when I used to work for NC State. And he always told me, he said, the cattle that gain the most weight makes the most money. And that's the reason I feed my cattle all they want every day. He's exactly right. So, I don't abuse my cattle. Now, changing gears, one thing that really bothered me being here today is all the energy that's been wasted that could have been used a whole lot better talking about abused children. My son and his wife fostered children for 15 years. And they spent a lot of time at my house. And the kids, all they needed was love. And, why couldn't we be spending this time and effort on trying to help abused children? And I've got no disrespect for dogs or cats, either one, because we have lots of them on the farm. But it bothers me because the last little boy that they fostered, when his time was up, most of them they couldn't keep but 2 years. When his time was up, nobody wanted him. And they, DSS asked him, did y'all want him? And my son and my daughter-in-law said, yes, if we can legally adopt him. So he's another one of my grandchildren, and I love him just as much as I do the other 5. So we ought to be thinking about what we're spending our energy on, and no disrespect to animals like dogs and cats, because I love them too. I just had to put down my golden retriever last week. He was just like part of the family. That's all I've got to say. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mary Burton?
What we got?
Thank y'all. I'll make this quick. I'll try to keep it under a minute because I know time's at a premium. I'm Mary Burton, live at 235 Winfield Drive. I did just want to kind of reiterate a few points, specifically of our current animal ordinance, section 26 on tethering, subsection C. No person shall tether or restrain an animal outdoors by any means during extreme weather, including at or below freezing temperatures or high heat, or during periods of driving rain, tornado, hurricane, or periods when severe weather warning has been issued for the area where the animal is located. I noticed that there have been revisions to the revisions of the proposed ordinances and everything, but that remains out of there. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why. As others have said, we're not expecting the animal control director and his people to get out there and go door to door, making sure that every person's animals are in when it's below freezing. But what we do expect, because like we've said, these laws aren't for the law-abiding good people. These are for the people who would do wrong. And then if those instances are reported, we just want them to go out there, take that call seriously, take that report seriously, and conduct that investigation seriously. Again, not asking them to go door to door, just to properly address the incidents that do occur and are reported. And not to do what Mr. Reeves did on January 3rd and 4th of 2024, when I called repeatedly about a dog out in 24, 27-degree weather. I'd driven by that location 5 or 6 times over 24 hours. He insisted he'd been out there. I hadn't seen him and all the time was out there. Doesn't mean he didn't go. But he also insisted multiple times that we do not have an ordinance about tethering animals below freezing, which was odd because as he was speaking, I was staring at the ordinance on the county website. All I'm asking is for you guys to show compassion for these animals and to keep the level of care that is currently outlined in our ordinance and just transfer that over to the new one with whatever the additions were, I think with the exotic animals and a few other things. But keep that level of care, especially that inclement weather and extreme weather like subsection of it. And also, I'm also asking you to consider the possible conflicts of interest and motivation for a person that is allegedly, again, I don't know this, but allegedly the owner of a large number of hunting and breeding dogs, and how his motivations for gutting these ordinances may be to benefit and make it easier for him to keep his animals. Thank y'all.
Hey everyone. Now we go to comments by the managers and commissioners. Rick, since you got here last, I'll let you talk first.
Welcome everybody. Sorry I'm late. I had a doctor appointment that got drug out a little bit, but I'm gonna survive now. I have been listening to the comments on YouTube while I was waiting for the doctor, so I'm kind of happy.
You're not hurting that much, Ian.
Yeah, a pretty good bit. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Brad?
Welcome everybody. It's good to see a good crowd. Kind of catchy.
Ain't got organized yet.
First of all, I want to say, let us not forget about Memorial Day that we just celebrated, and not confuse it with anything else in terms of what it really is people that lost their lives serving in our military, fighting for our rights, kind of like what you're doing here, giving your opinion, which I think is great, which we believe in. And also please remember their families that will be forever impacted, whether it be father, son, daughter, grandpa, grandma. And I think that I think sometimes we take for granted the people that have given the ultimate sacrifice for this country, even though it might be years and years and years and years ago. We just remember that we do continue to lose troops that are overseas, even though it's not an actual where a war has been declared. They're in a combat zone. It's a conflict, and so please be very, very thankful that we still have people willing to put that uniform on and serve our country, because they don't make a lot of money either, especially compared to what we ask them to do. In terms of, I won't really say too much about what we just talked about on the comments with the animals. I do want to say this though, that I know that everybody in this room has the best interest of the animals at heart. Some have different viewpoints, but there's not one person I don't think that's in this room or that spoke today, and the vast majority of people in their head are going to say, you know what, I want to beat my dog today, or I want to torture it. So we just need to kind of work together to try to bridge that gap so that we all work as one. We're not going to agree with everything, but I think as long as we have the interest of the animals at heart, that I think we can bridge that gap a little bit. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Wayne?
So again, appreciate everybody being here. Thank the good Lord for the rain today. Big thanks to all the veterans. I know Rick's a veteran, and like I say, thanks to all of them, to all everybody that served. I appreciate everyone that spoke today about the dogs. I know that's a sore subject for a lot of people. I got 4 of them. No matter what we do on this board, there's not going to be a right or a wrong policy. We're not going to approve a policy that's going to satisfy everybody, and I know that going into it. We're not. But I can say I take animals to heart. I can tell you right now, I really do. I know there's been some changes made in the policy that Director Reeves presented, and that's moving forward. But I guess what bothered me more than anything is when I got to talking to people on the Animal Control Advisory Board. Some quit, some resigned. Well, to serve on the board, at some point, you've got to make a decision. Right or wrong, you got to make a decision. Just like us 5 sitting here today, we've got to make a decision on this policy, whether it's right or wrong. And for the life of me, I can't understand why people that's serving on the Animal Control Advisory Board can't sit down as an adult and come to an agreement at some point on something. So I hope that we can solve this problem with our animals here in the county. I really do. Like I said, I'm for all animals, but I think we still got a little bit more work to do. I do. Again, thank y'all for being here.
Yeah, just echo what they've said. I just thank y'all for being here today, for voicing your support and your opinions that we've all sat here and took to heart and listened to, and we know that there's some work still to be done here, and we're just willing to try to find some common ground moving forward, I think is what we're hoping for. So and again, echoing Commissioner Chandler's comments about Memorial Day, which we I had my grandpa's brother was killed in action and buried overseas, so it's very special to our family to remember those who gave sacrifice to all on Memorial Day, and I just want to reiterate that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to remind everybody that at 5:30 this evening, right here, we have the public hearing on the FY26 budget that I presented at your last meeting.
Amber?
Just want to welcome everybody, and I hope everybody had a good Memorial Day. Bit short.
Maybe I can't leave you out.
I don't have any comments, thank you.
Trying to get her to talk.
It makes me feel good to see everybody in this room, because we have had 2 or 1, and talking to an empty room is not a good feeling. I want to reiterate what has been said by other people up here. I think 2 of the biggest sins we do every day is not remember who died for this country, so that we can have the freedoms to come here and talk. The other biggest one, and I'll throw that out too because I drill it in my kids' and grandkids' heads: vote. People died so you could vote, and people don't do it. Anyway, let's move along, and thank y'all again for coming out. Conflict of interest. Before moving further, does any board members have a conflict with any of the items on the agenda for today, or one that might be received as a conflict of interest? Consent agenda. Could I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Which brings us to discussion agenda. And the first item is request to amend the Stokes County Animal Control Ordinance.
This addressed some of the things up here. I don't know that some things were said were inaccurate, so we just want to make sure it's straightened out. The tethering is 10 foot. We put it back in there to 10 foot. That was done after the first meeting. The seems like the big challenge to me is in the old ordinance, in tethering section, it says this. So we know where we're at because this is what everybody's arguing about. It says in C, it says no person shall tether or restrain an animal outdoors by any means during extreme weather, at or below freezing temperature, high heat, or during periods of driving rain, tornadoes, hurricanes, or periods when a severe weather warning has been issued for the area where the animal is located. Well, and then the other section is the minimum size of, you have to have a 10 by 10, a sizable 100 foot square foot, which is 10 by 10 lot for 0 to 50 pounds, or for 51 pounds or more, you have to have a 200 square foot lot, which is a 20 by 20.
You can't talk right now.
Saying 20 by
Ma'am,
20.
Kath, you need to go. He's going to put you out if you're going to keep interrupting.
So
y'all been doing good. Let's don't screw it up now.
So in my ordinance, we go over here to it. So when you get over to mine and Animal Welfare Act, we put the tethering size back up 10 foot, exactly what it is now. So in mine, it says when an animal is tethered or in a lot in direct sunlight, it should have adequate shade for natural or artificial means other than its shelter to provide protection. So that covers one section that was in there. Next one is the bedding needs to consist of straw, shavings, or organic material to help protect from cold and promote a tension of body heat. That covers the bedding. That covers the bedding. Make sure there's plenty of bedding in there. Next thing is the owner shall maintain the area where the animal is kept in a sanitary condition as to promote good health and to help prevent sickness or disease in the animal. So that takes care of the spot where they've got in there, you must clean it every day. So the question of it is, and I look at it as an enforcement part. How do I go and say that lot was cleaned out every day? But I can go and say, hey, this is not clean enough to promote good health. This needs to be cleaned up. I can articulate that. I can argue that. I can't argue if that was cleaned out today or if it was cleaned out yesterday, because you don't know. You can't argue that. Is it one feces? Is it two? Is it three piles in there? So this covers that part. It don't lessen the thing. What it does is it puts it in wording that you can enforce. That is true. That you can actually articulate when you go on scene that it's there. If the animal's in a lot, it should be in a size appropriate for the animal that is a commercially available size or larger. Well, that means you can't stick a Great Pyrenees in a 4x5 lot. It's not size appropriate. I can articulate a size appropriate, but I don't need a 10x10 lot for a beagle that's being hunted 3 or 4 times a week. A 4x6, a 4x8 lot is appropriate for him. So all dogs are different. But we're in old ordinance now, we have wrote stuff that we want to punish a few. But we're punishing all of our citizens when we write it. And the new ordinance, it allows me, for people who are not taking care of the animals, to enforce. And they brought up about me going to that dog on January 3rd. That dog was put down. The owner brought it put down because the dog got loose and killed his cat. And the reason why, and I hadn't told this story, but it's time for the story to be out. They called 7 times on that one dog. Driving over there, I passed 20 other dogs that were tied out in the same neighborhood or in a lot. They didn't call on those 20, they called on that one. And when you drove to the backside of her property, they had a sign up that says, "Leave me alone, my dogs are taken care of." And I went to her house. The dog had 2 dog houses. One had a hole in it, one didn't. She had shavings in both. She says he's going to sleep in the one with the hole in it because that's what he likes. But he has the option. He was tied to a tree limb instead of the tree, instead of a stake in the ground. I said, well, the only problem I see with the ordinance is you got him tied to a tree limb. She said he's tied to the tree limb because he jerks every stake up. Because this dog was perfectly healthy. He was about 75 pounds, fat as a butterball, great shape. Nothing wrong with him. She said he jerks a stake up. I said, would you do me a favor? Put him on a stake, take a picture of it, and if he jerks it up, send me a picture of it, and you can tie him back to the limb. That way I can justify why you got him tied to the limb. She done that at my request. She turned the dog loose because she had a fenced-in backyard. That dog jumped the fence and almost killed her cat. Cost her $1,000 because a select few decided that that dog didn't need to be out in freezing weather because it was below 32 degrees. Now, that's when I say you put an ordinance in there, it needs to be enforced. But if you're going to put an ordinance in there, then you need to enforce it on everybody. You don't call on one person and drive by 20 other houses that have the same thing. But that's what they do. That's the calls I get, is they call on one select person and they try to enforce it on that one person because it, and I don't know if they have a personal grudge or they just pick that person out or what. I don't know. But that's what they do. So in my ordinance, it allows me and my agents to go there and enforce what needs to be enforced and take care of it. It don't take down on animal welfare. It don't. Everybody's got a different opinion. Should it be tied, not tied? That's everybody's personal opinion. If people has dogs tied out, they're just as healthy as they can be, just as happy as they can be. Other dogs ain't. You got dogs that are in a house that are just as scared and that can beat somebody, or bite somebody just as bad. You got people who put dogs in crates inside the houses for 8 hours while they're going to work. Well, that's just as cruel as putting one, to me, is tying one outside and never touching it. You can't enact laws that's going to affect all citizens. But mine allows us to take care of animals. It don't downgrade nothing on animals. It don't downgrade the Animal Welfare Act whatsoever. But it allows us to go enforce animals' rights straight out across the county. It don't punish a few. It don't punish the whole for a select few that don't take care of their animals. It don't, and that's the ordinance we got now. It punishes a few. It punishes a whole for a select few's injustice on taking care of animals. I've had animals my whole life. I've taken care of them my whole life. I've had them tied. I've had them in lots. Everything else. If I thought for 1 minute that this downgraded Animal Welfare Act, I would not have done it. But it's here. It's what is right. Now, the new thing for the livestock, and I'm glad this was brought up because I did not know it. It was not in the general statutes where I normally look to stuff I do. I do think that the title, under title and purpose, that we do need to put in there pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 153A-145.4, the ordinance shall not apply to farm animals. I do think that needs to be in there because it's covered by North Carolina General Statute. I think it needs to be in there so everybody from this county on knows that that is covered, that you cannot do nothing with livestock, that you need to go to general statute. I think if we take the ordinance and we adopt it as mine is, the second part they put in here, I don't know that you need to change anything in it. Because if you adopt our ordinance as is, it don't affect what they've got over here about the livestock animal, because our ordinance, as I wrote it up, and that was part of me writing it up, that it don't affect these livestock dogs. But we also need to be able to manage livestock dogs in case they bite somebody or they get out of the premises and bite somebody that they can fall under the rabies and this and that. So I'm saying adopt the part they put in there about the general statute, but you can't regulate farm animals. That's North Carolina General Statute. Everything under the North Carolina General Statute is farm animals. That's where I go to already. I just did not know about this one ordinance where I would put it in there until they give it to me. So my recommendation is to adopt it the way it is. All these people sitting here talking 7 foot, we done changed it back to 10 foot. There's no word in this ordinance that you can sit here and tell me 100% that it diminishes Animal Welfare Act. It does not. By no means and no how it does not. Go to a man's house and tell him he's got to pull his 30 beagles inside because it dropped below freezing, and he just hunted them all day long below 32 degrees. But now go to his house and tell him, no, you got to put them inside because it's below 32 degrees, but he's hunting them all day. And he's going to hunt them the next day because when he takes them out, now they're going to get sick. And now it's going to cost him a vet bill because what we got in ordinance now will cause that. This does not diminish anything. If you're going to take care of your animals, you take care of your animals. If you're not, this here allows us to make sure we can charge you and do what we need to do. It does not diminish any welfare act whatsoever. It don't have opinions in it or agendas in it. Well, I believe in dogs being tied or not, that don't matter for this ordinance. That don't matter for this county. That's what this ordinance allows them to do if a person wants to do it. It's a 10-foot minimum. They can tie it on a 30-foot lead if they want to. It's a 10-foot minimum. Size appropriate lots. You look at most lots available now, commercial size, when they're doing for dogs, is a 5x8 or a 5x7. Our own kennels at Stokes County Animal Shelter ain't but 4x7. Friends of Stokes Shelter is probably a 5'8", I think. So they're not even in the ordinances now. So we don't even fit our own ordinance. So if we're going to make people do that, then we need to do it as a county. So my suggestion is the size appropriate lots is what's correct for that. We don't need a size. We don't need to dictate sizes to people. A size appropriate lot for a beagle versus a feist or a coonhound, they're all different sizes. They're all different sizes. And when they talk about stuff cruelty, we can enforce cruelty. There's a whole North Carolina General statute that enforces cruelty. And it's in here. It's in here. Everything has been put in here. It's been well thought out. It's from several other counties, and there is not, that I have found, there's not another county that has anything in there about freezing weather, high heat, or anything like that. Because high heat is a definition, it's different for everybody. Mine's 85. Commissioner Cox might be 95. Commissioner Morninghouse might be 90. You might be 75. You might be 85. It's all opinionated. And mine takes opinionated out. That's what we take out of the law, is opinionated. It's stuff that you can actually sit there and say, I can articulate why you're in violation of this county ordinance. And I recommend that you adopt it with the minor change of the Farm Bureau stuff and accept it as it is. Any questions on that? Excuse me, I'm going to get my water with you.
Right. I don't have any questions. I'd like to talk just this discussion.
Anybody got any questions before Brad fills the airways?
No one has any questions?
Nope, you're up.
Real quick, I would just like to summarize kind of the animal control ordinances here in Stokes County just in recent years. So in the last time the ordinance was revised, and which is the current ordinance as we speak today, it was in 2021. And the people on the board at the time was Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Barneycastle, Commissioner Cox, Commissioner Mendenhall, and the chair was Andy Nicholson. In 2022, a new term come into the Board of Commissioners, and that's where Commissioner Wood and I, we came in as first-time commissioners. Commissioner Morris was, like I said, he was on the previous board. So we went through various meetings and pushing out information and looking at, because we were under a lot of scrutiny of reevaluating the current ordinance as the one that stands and the viability of it. So it was very, very well-rounded and lively discussion. The meetings were kind of like this, but not only were we hearing from the people, and I'll just give an example. no tethering. In other words, no tethering at all. So that was like a lightning rod for a lot of the people here in Stokes County. So you look at the culture of Stokes County. Stokes County has a lot of people that have grown up generation after generation hunting with dogs. And so I think there was even second floor overflow between all the hunters that were upset about having, not to be able to tether their dogs. And then with all the other restrictions that went with it. And it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And everybody had good points, just like in here. There's good points on both sides. They're excellent points. So in 2023, and I can't remember the exact time that happened, but I did find some of my old notes. In 2023, we all agreed as a board to table the new proposed animal control ordinance that was being worked on. So at the time, we had a county, Shannon was our county manager, and then we had Lori as our animal control director. So we asked for a committee to be formed other than the advisory board of a select group of people of different areas to review everything and make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners on what the proposed ordinance should look like on the change. Well, then what happens is we end up losing our county manager. Shannon had resigned, and then shortly after that, Lori was no longer employed with the county as the animal control director, and we appointed an interim county manager, which is Amber. So at that time, things kind of froze because we had no animal control director, and that should be I think that should be an important person that should be in on the ordinance that we're revising. So then we hire another animal control director, and he was already employed with the county, and so he accepted the job, and so we started going through it. But at a certain time, it just became evident and overwhelming, and so what he asked to do was step back. So again, no animal control director. So we advertised again, and when the interview shook out and with all the other applicants and everything, Tommy Reeves was selected as the animal control director. And I can't remember the exact date, but I'm guessing sometime late 2024 is what or 2023 is when you were hired. Do you remember when you were hired?
December 23rd.
December of 2023. So you've been here, what, maybe a year and a half, something like that. So that's where we're at right now, and then you know the history, the backdrop of him making the recommendation to go to this current, what he wants to enact as the ordinance. In the meantime, so according to the Stokes News that was out, our chairperson, she resigned, and she wrote a letter to the editor. And I think she was very articulate. I think she was very fair. She didn't take sides. She pointed out the obvious issues that she was having, and I think she felt a lot of stress that was on her, because obviously the current animal control advisory council or board is dysfunctional, and I don't know how any other way to say that. it's dysfunctional. So then what we have is we don't have a chair that sits on the animal control board, and I don't even know how many members that we still have on the board. And then even of the members that may be still on the board, a lot of them just quit coming. And when I've talked to some people individually, they tell me it's dysfunctional. You can't have a different opinion or ask questions, and you're getting jumped on. And sometimes you're getting jumped on people, they're not even on the board. In my opinion, first of all, I support the director. I think he's trying to do the right thing. The thing that I don't like, I think that we could have done a better job in putting out there, just like so many people have come up here and said, hey, here's the old ordinance, then write under it in red or strike it out, put it down, because I spent my Memorial Day weekend going through our current ordinance, going through the ordinance that Tommy's trying to do, and then going back through the draft ordinance. And even you can only concentrate so long and go back and flip through paperwork. And you want to be sure when you're going to, want to change something. I mean, I understand what he's trying to do. This is probably one of the better times he's explained it about current state statute and not trying to deviate. But the bottom line is this. Since we have no board. It's not effective. We don't have a chair. One of the things in all the previous meetings, I didn't hear it in this one, but all the previous meetings where people were talking, I heard agreement. It's not a problem with a 5-person board, which is what he's proposing. A 5-person advisory board. And he's got stipulated the type of people that's on it from the different parts of the county. And then it does limit the times of actual where you're supposed to meet, but it's also got a thing in there that says they can meet any time that they need to meet. And there's a part in there that talks about how that they can be given a special issue to look at, and I think this is a special issue to look at. So what I'm recommending, because I'm not going to vote for the county ordinance that is being proposed right now. We need a little bit of work done on it. And let me say this. It even reinforces it when Farm Bureau has to come and point out about the farm animal exemption. And nothing against you, but it just shows that we did miss a few things. So even the new current ordinance we haven't even approved yet, we got amended already. And let's stop this. And I'm recommending that to take it to action, and with the terms of that we implement the 2 sections where it talks about the 5-person animal control advisory board, and then the other part of it of what it is will be used for and when they will meet. Excuse me. And then I will ask that we to get the ball rolling, to get nominations in here to us ASAP to appoint this 5-person board and let them review the ordinances, all 3 ordinances, and whatever else anybody wants to contribute, and sit down and give an outside set of eyes of what works for Stokes County and make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for action. And it will be done forthwith. And that's all I got, Mr. Chair.
Tom,
I agree with Brad's approach. I think Wayne might have said it today or at the other meeting that of all the other things we do, we should be able to get a group together that could give us a good product to vote on and have it all agreed to before we get here, where we do one discussion on it and then take it to action 2 weeks later. And that would be the plan. I would say we need to absolutely do, so we don't have everybody having to drive up here 50 times trying to figure out what's going on with it. But I like the idea of getting that new advisory board in place, getting the right people on it, looking at all aspects of this, of what's been done, what might need to be done better, take an adequate amount of time to get it, to develop what the final product's going to be. And then, like I said, we'll discuss it and vote on it 2 weeks later. So that'd be my recommendation.
You look like you're ready to talk something.
Well, I'm leaning towards agreeing with what Brad's saying. And I think if I heard you correctly, you're saying to go ahead and move to action the parts of the ordinance that pertain to the advisory board so that can be established. And then come back with another recommendation on this ordinance. I would be inclined to agree with that because it's just like Mr. Sevier said, if everyone would do what's right, we wouldn't need an ordinance at all, but that's not the case. And so you have to have one, and I think somebody else said, many people will do the right thing just because it's the right thing. But if it's in writing, even if it's hard to enforce, but it's in writing, I think more people will try to do the right thing and will see that that's the expectation. And I do think a lot of what is in this House Bill 657, even though it's not going to pass this time because they will adjourn before they can take this up, there's a lot of good stuff in it that's spelled out, and I think it would behoove us and this newly formed committee to look at this, because this might be the future of what we are going to be told in statute to do. It may or may not be. I'm sure there'll be committees and there'll be give and take, which is fine, and that's how it should be, and that's how this should be, is give and take. And so, I do think that Tommy has added some stuff back in, and he sat up there and explained it. That makes sense. That it speaks to the bedding and the 10 feet and a lot that's appropriate size for the animal, even though that's could be very subjective, I guess. And so those are the kind of things that I think this new advisory board and Tommy could sort of give and take and come to some type of agreement on a few. We're so close, but yet so far away on some of this stuff, and it's just like we were talking about. Tommy mentioned extreme weather and about the beagle puppies and stuff. And if looking at this House Bill 657, it's just speaking to outdoor tethering of an animal during any period of extreme weather, and which includes extremely cold weather. And I think that's what we're talking about, is dogs that are tethered outside during these things, not dogs in kennels, not dogs in lots, and that kind of thing. And so I think it needs some more work. I think we can get to a product that we can all be happy with, hopefully. Because right now I'm not really ready to vote on this as it stands. I don't want it to appear that we're going backwards on any of the animal protections that we have in this county. I mean, I just think we don't need to rush it. We just need to take our time and get it right. So, you know, that we're not redoing it in a few months down the road or a year or whatever. Because like you walked us through the whole process, the long, arduous process that we've been through. And we've come a long ways, and it's just not fair to appear to be going backwards. I'm not saying we're going backwards, but even the appearance of going backwards is not something that I want to be involved in.
I guess that's me. Well, I actually sat down and talked to one of the gentlemen that was on the advisory board and got enlightened on a lot. And the farm animal was one of the big things that him and I talked about. And go back to what Commissioner Chandler said. You know, when you adopt a policy, you got to be real careful here. Because when you're talking about a coon dog and you're talking about a Dachshund, that's a wholly entire two different dog breeds. I got 4 of them, 4 Dachshunds, I know. And I got friends that's got coon dogs, and they tie them out. You can't let that dog run loose. You unleash him, he's gone. You ain't gonna see him no more. That's his nature. Some of these guys can't afford kennels or big dog lots. They tie them out. But trust me, these dogs are looked after probably better than most kids are. I can promise you. I know these individuals personally. But I think we need to go back to what Commissioner Chandler said. And I hope and pray that once we approve this board, surely to God there's 5 people in our county can sit down around a table and come to some kind of agreements about our animals in this county. I find it hard to believe that we can't do that. I really do. And like I said earlier in my comments, we are not going to please everybody. I don't care if we got a 2-page document or a 200-page document. It's not going to please everybody in this county. When I first took his seat, my goal was to satisfy everybody. Well, guess what? It didn't take me long to figure out that wasn't going to happen. So I try to make the best decision that I know how when it comes to dealing with animals, people, finances, whatever it is for this county. I try to make the best decision possible. But I'll have to agree with Mr. Chandler on this one. I think let's get the board together. And I was like him. I spent all weekend. And I got to reading this stuff so much, it was all running together on me this weekend. I'm like, well, which part is the old, which part is the new? And if it wasn't for the red lines, I wouldn't have seen what all was changed in there. But when I read that, I was like, well, we are making some progress here. Some things, you know, somebody sit back, all right, we can change this, we can change this, all right. So that told me we can work together if we want to. But it's not going to be perfect. I can promise you that. But again, thank y'all for being here. Thank everybody. I took your comment. I listened to what you had to say. And trust me, I hope we can accomplish something out of this. I really do.
There's not much I can add. I agree with Wayne. With the passion I've seen the last few months, if there's not 5 people willing to serve on this board, we're back to square one. And I know y'all very vocal, but calm it down a little bit and work together, and let's get this done so we can get the new animal shelter built and be proud of it. Be on the news as look what they done in Stokes instead of filling the rooms with cameras and negative stuff. My next question is, how long will it take? How long we got to post this, Amber? Or
Typically in the past, we've advertised it for 2 weeks. So until it would be till the next meeting, if that's the will of the board, to create the new committee.
okay. And while she's on this, we didn't plan this meeting to be at 2 o'clock. I wish, if y'all got any questions about these stupid myths online and Facebook, call me. I mean, we just schedule stuff. I mean, I've been at it since 5 o'clock this morning. And barely got here. I like to get here an hour, and I got here I think 1:30 today. I mean, and then we got to be here to 5:30. We just go with it. We don't plan it to be perfect, and it don't work out perfect. And yes.
Whenever you're done. Can I just make a recommendation that if it's the will of the board
please.
to vote to approve the new Animal Control Advisory Board, those sections of the ordinance, can we also vote to approve the advisory board bylaws, the new ones that go along with that portion? That would make sense, I think. So.
They go hand in hand anyway, right?
They go hand in hand. Has nothing to do with the welfare or, the actual ordinance of, how, we treat animals, and it's just all about the advisory.
So you got enough time to advertise this by our next meeting,
Yeah, we can post it online today.
which will be at
for the-
6 o'clock, everybody. All right.
One question, is there anything that needs to be changed in the advertisement to, I guess my back thought is, when we do this board, we gotta get the right people on it. If we don't, then it'll do what the last one did. So you think we're good with what we've got ready to advertise, or?
Yeah, I mean, we can post anything the bylaws, I think, detail what the makeup of the new board will be.
Okay.
So as long as y'all approve that and are good with that, then that's what we'll advertise.
Okay.
And we can attach the PDF of the new bylaws, and that way people know what it's about.
Okay.
If they have questions, we can post a number to call.
Yeah, that'd be good. Perfect.
Mr. Chairman, can I give you one note on the statute that was brought up? As far as the farm animals are concerned, the statute that's in place is in relation to standards of care for farm animals. So shelters, housing, feed, medicine, exercise, and social interaction requirements. So just as we're going forward, I'd recommend that we look at whether the board wants to put a blanket exemption in place for farm animals, or whether we need to consider things in terms of public nuisance and things that are not contemplated by the statute. So just wanted to put that bug in your ear as y'all are thinking about going forward with things, that it's not technically a straight up exemption. There are some other areas of the ordinance that we would need to think about in terms of how that plays.
Well, maybe we could encourage you to sit also on the board as a, what do you call it, as a... Yes, yes. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I was already fixing to say that.
Yes.
I think you ought to work with the State Farm attorney on that.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that whatever we get in place both contemplates what is statutorily authorized or statutorily required, but also handles issues that we might be dealing with otherwise.
All right, so we can move into action?
Yes, I asked him, yeah, I think we have a consensus.
Yes.
We do. I'm good. All right, that leads us to Board of Health reappointments. I think that's Tammy, or is it?
I told Tammy she
You
didn't
got-
have to
you're
be here,
covering-
but
okay.
basically there's 4 members of the Board of Health whose terms are about to expire, and they just need to be revisited. It's B. Ross Kaiser, who's serving as pharmacist, Ashley L. Olstein, public member, Chad Jarvis, public member, and Keith Lawson is a public member. All of these members are willing to continue serving, and we have not received any other applications. So if it is agreed upon by the board.
Been advertised. When you say there's not been any other applications, does that mean that the vacancies were advertised?
It wasn't a
They weren't vacant.
They weren't vacant.
Their terms.
Right.
It's a reappointment.
Right. So there wouldn't be any other.
Unless one of them had chosen to not continue.
Right.
There's one that is choosing not to do it. It's the name, I'm trying to think of his name, it's very end
Mr. Lawson.
on his resume.
Mr. Lawson.
Who was, yeah, that's who. He doesn't want to serve again, so that one needs to be
right.
I had all of them on there.
But I think that.
Hold on, I'm going to go double double check.
I
All,
was,
all four of them were listed. I just want to make sure that
You actually got to read all through Lawson to get to the point that says, hey, he doesn't want to be reappointed. He had to read the thing.
Keith Lawson doesn't.
It's because of health issues.
Yes, yeah, he does not want to be reappointed.
And I was told that
Right.
an hour before I got here by Chad. We were at listening to Virginia.
Well, I've read it in the document.
Yeah.
then we would have to advertise.
For that one position.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what we would still do is typically we'd still post it on the appointments page that such and such were nominated to the Board of Health, just in case other people wanted a chance to apply to serve in their places. That's what we've typically done in the past. But that one would be a vacancy.
Well, there's more vacancies than just that.
Well, there's
Open right now.
Right.
Yeah. I think they should already be on the
That's
appointment
I think
page.
he was serving as a public member, if I remember
He
right.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one definitely needs to be advertised. But they're also looking for a veterinarian, I think, and maybe an optometrist to be on there as well. But they're trying to recruit some people for that. So you want us to nominate the three that for this meeting, and then it'll be advertised, and then we'll for 2 weeks, and then we'll see if there's any other applicants. Right? That's how we
They
do
can
it.
reappoint the one, like they can nominate the one.
Yeah, they can still nominate it, but what we'll do is we'll just post and say, those 3 members were nominated at today's meeting. That way, people have 2 weeks before they finalize the appointments to come back and apply. That makes sense.
Well, then I'll nominate Ross Kaiser, Ashley Osteen, and Chad Jarvis back to the health board.
I nominate Kiger, Osteen, and Jarvis.
Kaiser, Osteen, Jarvis, and me.
Kaiser, Osteen, Jarvis also.
Kaiser, Osteen, and Jarvis also.
Brings us to
Yeah, it'll still be on that.
Outdoor fireworks.
outdoor fireworks display.
I mean,
Yeah, just get action in the next meeting.
is Scott Aaron here?
Okay, all right. So,
We can't hear you from in there.
Here's Scotty.
Oh, it's always head up through there. Good afternoon. I'm here to give the permit for the fireworks display at the Northeast Stokes Fire Department. Be on July the 5th. I've already done the measurements and done all the follow-up work on the person doing the display. Everything's been approved. The site's been approved. I've spoke with the fire department. They'll be there for standby. It'll be on their property. Everything looks good. This is a new site that has never been used before, so it falls under that whole. It's got to be pre-approved by you folks before we can move forward with it.
You want it moved to action?
Please.
I'll be fine to move it to action for today.
Me too.
Yep. Good. Thank you.
So that brings us to action of agenda. All in favor of the vehicle use policy?
I'll make a motion that
I'm
we
sorry, I
approve
jumped the
the
gun.
vehicle use policy.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next, do we hear a motion for a
I'll
mayor?
also make a motion for the America 250 committee resolution.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then that will bring us to the board for the I'm going by memory. Y'all help me out
So,
over there.
so the next thing is I make a motion that we approve the 2 articles regarding the 5-member board, the appointment, and also the duties in the bylaws.
Here a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And then is that it?
Make a motion that we approve the outdoor fireworks display.
Here a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do not leave because we've got to go back at it at 5:30.
I know.